Okay, this isn't me responding to Granniopteryx. Her channel is called Demi-Rep. I'll put a link in the description anyway. Her video is how Gaza has stolen, warped and corrupted discourse, I think.
Hello. I'm going to be quite angry in this video, so if you're not in a mood to hear somebody getting very angry, then maybe you should find something involving puppies or kittens or something.
YouTube is puppies, kittens, and watching people get angry, so go ahead.
Instead, I had a subscriber called Errol who is obsessed with Gaza. I'm not sure that Errol is one person, by the way. I have an idea he could be a collective or even a bot.
We're all a collective in a way, but yeah, you do get collective attacks on channels or whatever, and you do get bot attacks, but I don't think that's really relevant.
But almost every video I made got a response from him about Palestine or Gaza or such like. And, you know, frankly, I wasn't too much bothered by Errol. I get a few...
But that's just someone who's got like a fanatical outlook, right? Like, there's like a famous saying about like a fanatic will always find a way to talk about his obsession, right?
Those, it doesn't bother me. Occasionally he or they or it said something non-Palestine related that actually made sense, and as I always do, I engaged with his arguments as I do with many others. But when I made my video expressing sympathy for the victims, especially the children, of the Guadalupe flood, and I saw Errol's response, which was, "What about the children of Gaza?"
And that's what I'm talking about. A fanatical person will respond to anything like that. Like, imagine it was a fanatical vegan, right? The fanatical vegan could watch your video where you're like having pity for the child victims of the Texas floods and say, but you don't seem to have the same sympathy for all the cows and pigs and chickens that are killed just for hamburgers and chicken nuggets or whatever. It's the same sort of thing. Like, it's taking one thing and then bringing it round to a person's fanatical belief. I'm not saying like Errol's a fanatic, but it sounds like if he's doing this, then he is. If he's bringing you making a video about the tragic floods and then bringing it to his favorite cause, he's being fanatical, right? And it's kind of pointless. Like, the two totally different things, right? It's absolutely different things. The flood and the people that died in the flood really is not really got anything to do with veganism and animal farming, okay? But that person will see it as that, and they'll comment in such a way.
That was too much. For the first time in, I don't know, how long have I been?
Much as maybe Errol has done the same thing, his cause is, can I even say it? The Gaza shit, right? And he's bringing, just like a fanatical of any kind, is bringing something that's completely unrelated to it, which is a natural disaster in America, and then saying, well, what about this though, right? It's a stupid comparison.
Doing this 7 years maybe. For the first time in 7 years of YouTubing, I blocked an account.
And I respect that. That shows that like she really respects freedom of speech, because she'll have had a lot of people saying lots of crazy shit in the comments, I'm sure. And she's only banned one person in 7 years. I've probably been on YouTube twice as long, and I've banned two. Blocked. I had to. I'm not saying she had to, but I had to. These people. Okay, like yeah, I have blocked two people. I admit it, but fuck, I had to.
I blocked Errol. I suppose if he's that obsessive, he'll create another account for
Oh yeah.
himself. And if he's a bot, he'll certainly do that. So I don't expect that
If
my
he's a bot,
block
he's
will
already like
yield
1,000 accounts.
perfect results. But I couldn't just do nothing. This Gaza issue has...
No, you can't just do nothing. I've watched this video before, okay? Because I recorded it, my response, and I forgot to set the audio correctly that it captured my voice. So I watched it, okay? What she's about to do is a textbook example of why, no, the best thing is to do nothing. If someone's trolling you, just do nothing.
stolen the attention of the world from all sorts of real human disasters. It's stolen our attention from Sudan and Yemen and Syria and Nigeria and China and Congo and
Yeah, but like anything on the news cycle does that. You could say the Epstein files is taking attention away from these things because people are looking at that and they're not looking at what you said, Congo and Sudan or whatever, right? Anything that's in the news cycle is going to be taking attention away from that. It's not like just this Gaza thing's taking attention away from that. Like anything that is big in the news cycle will be taking attention away from that, right?
Venezuela and Bangladesh and Mali and Nepal. Awful things have happened in all of those places, but I'll bet most of you hadn't heard of half of them.
No, because the news cycle isn't feeding it to us, right? Um, for sure. So like, it's probably everyone's be looking at like the drama between Trump and Elon or whatever, or like those kind of things. They're taking attention away from these things too. Anything is. So you can't go like, can you blame the Gaza thing? That's taking attention away from these things when anything that is fed to us in the news cycle is taking attention away from something else.
Be honest, have you? Gaza hasn't only stolen public awareness of these tragedies, but it's also sucked away funds from a lot of genuine refugees who could have done something constructive with the money. It's even stolen our politics. There's a whole new political party started up just this week in the UK, devoted, obviously, not to Britain and what's good for us here, but devoted to Gaza and what's good for a lot of...
And like, there might be some truth in what she's saying. I've not like really looked into this new party, but one thing I will say is, yeah, a lot of what's happening in the Middle East is affecting local politics in other countries, and what the parties are, what side they're taking or what stance they're taking. When really, I think it's not a right wing or left wing thing to say. Like, people just want the governments to sort of like fix the problems in their own country, right? And make their lives better, or the citizens' lives better, or the country a bit better, right? That's a fair assessment, I think, if that's what she's saying.
Hamas puppet masters living the billionaire life in hotels.
Okay, maybe, hang on. Let's get it in
The
context.
UK, devoted obviously not to Britain and what's good for us here, but devoted to Gaza and what's good for a lot of Hamas puppet masters living the billionaire life in hotels in Doha. And as much as Gaza has stolen all of that, I'm not going to let it steal my channel, and I'm especially not going...
You say you're not going to let it steal your channel, but I watched this video, and in this video you're letting the Middle East drama completely steal your channel, especially with your response, because it's pretty polarized, I think that's like almost objective. It's objectively polarized. Your response in the later part of this video, and it's gonna uh, whatever Errol was saying and trolling you, I don't think this channel's ever about this, but now after this video, it's gonna be about this.
to let it steal the Texas flood disaster. So, after the Granniopteryx has done her roar, I'm going to explain to Errol and anyone of his mind what the difference is between the apocalypse in Gaza and the catastrophe in Texas. So, I'm Granniopteryx. Please click like
Now, buckle the fuck up, because it's about to get crazy.
for this video. Please share it. Please subscribe to my channel. And if you want to contribute financially, all the links are in the description. Okay, let's talk about some basic differences. The parents of those children in Texas sent them to learn about nature, peace, love, and love of God. The parents in Gaza sent them to learn how to strip down an AK-47 while chanting death to the Jews.
Like, what parents in Gaza? If you're talking about, let's say she's talking about the terrorists that did October the 7th, right? Like maybe their parents brought them up to like hate Jews and whatever, and strip AK-47s or whatever the fuck she's talking about. But I think it's what this troll or whatever was talking about was like, here's some innocent kids in America that have died, right? He's wrong. He's completely wrong to compare it, but he's comparing it to the innocent kids that die as a part of any war, right? Like no matter how accurate the missiles are and the bombs and stuff, whatever, you're gonna get innocent children die, and he's talking about the innocent children, and now she's talking about like sending kids to camps to strip AK-47s. Let's just go back, man. I don't want to misquote it, but it's like
big differences. The parents of those children in Texas sent them to learn about nature, peace,
and sent them, right. So they sent them to like a Bible whatever school trip or something. And then she's saying like if she's talking about just like the normal kids, they're not sent anywhere. Like if you're living in a war zone, you're not sending your kids anywhere. They're just living in your house. And unfortunately, there's a terrorist living 2 doors down, and there's a bomb, and a bit of shrapnel goes through the window, and you know.
love, and love of God. The parents in Gaza sent them to learn how to strip down an AK-47 while chanting death to the Jews.
Like, you know, like in the West, we've got this game like, I'm old, right? But it's called Operation, and you got to like take the little bones out and not make the buzzer go off, right? Like, do you think the kids in Gaza have a similar game, but like it's a picture of a AK-47? You've got to like dismantle it in the correct order, or the buzzer goes off. Like, what you fucking talking about, man?
Parents of those children in Texas brought them up to have the ambition of being productive members of society and a credit to their Christian communities. The parents in Gaza brought up their children to have the ambition to...
Parents or all parents? If there's some kid that's like under a pile of rubble, I'm not saying like that was an intentional thing, but there's a pile of rubble and they're pulling him out and he's like all injured and shit. You know, like some 5-year-old, like, what the fuck has he done wrong? He's just been in the wrong place at the wrong time, right? And is it his parents' fault? They were in the wrong place at the wrong time.
die young in a blast of smoke and flames and blood and become martyrs for Islam. The parents of
Let's just keep that whole sentence in context. I don't want
members of society and a credit to their Christian communities. The parents in Gaza brought up their children to have the ambition to die young in a blast of smoke and flames and blood and become martyrs for Islam.
Well, and many of them have become martyrs, but did they want to? I don't know, like, I've traveled the world a bit, I've lived in different societies and stuff, and I'm no expert. From what I've seen, normal people are just normal people. They just want, like, a good life, have a job, have an income, have a house, have some kids, have some friends, happy days. I guess, like, in the religious countries, they want to be able to uh, perform their worship or whatever. But generally, like, it's like that famous quote from George R. Martin, like Song of Ice and Fire thing. And like one of the guys is talking to another one. He's like, basically says, the common folk just want like a long summer, like good food, healthy children, happy life. They don't care about the Game of Thrones, as in they don't care about the dramas with the leaders. And then he says, but unfortunately, they never really get that. They never really get the happy life and the long summer and the healthy kids and stuff because of the Game of Thrones, right?
Parents of those children in Texas believed in a life in the hereafter that involved
I'll put that quote in the description because I completely got it wrong, I'm sure.
a transcendent closeness to a God who is their father. Communities. The parents in Gaza brought up their children to have the ambition to die young in a blast of smoke and flames and blood and become martyrs for Islam. The parents of those children in Texas believed in a life in the hereafter that involved a transcendent closeness to a God who is their father.
Do you see what I'm saying about it being a polarized response? Because we're going from like, these kids were basically angels with perfect parents, and these kids were being trained to explode in a pink mist of blood and what do you call it, like taking AK-47s apart and putting them back together or something. It's kind of nuts, right? Don't you think it's nuts?
And who loves them, and in fact who embodies pure self-sacrificing love. The parents of those children of Gaza believed in a Muslim paradise, which is the fantasy of any slave who has faithfully carried out his master's dirty work. And
even if the parents were like absolute demons, right? Aren't all children innocent? Like, isn't some child that gets caught up in a blast or whatever, like, or a strike, or, you know, like their neighborhood or their house gets destroyed and they've got to move somewhere and then they get sick because they're not living in a, you know, they're not living in a home anymore and I don't know, they get sick or whatever, or just stressed out. Like, aren't they still victims, man? Even if the parents are like literal demons, like she's kind of portraying.
who will be rewarded.
And the whole thing is like she's making a mistake that this Errol fanatic made, where he's comparing like victims of a flood to victims of war, and it's absolutely insane that he's doing that because he's a fanatic. But now she's doing exactly the same thing, just on the flip side. She's now comparing victims of war to victims of flood. The troll has won.
Rewarded with harems of slaves of their own, and endless wealth and closeness to a God who is their father and who loves them.
I might have gone back too far, but I don't care because like the context is kind of everything.
Die young in a blast of smoke and flames and blood and become martyrs for Islam. The parents of those children in Texas believed in a life in the hereafter that involved a transcendent closeness to a God who is their father and who loves them, and in fact who embodies pure self-sacrificing love. The parents of those children of Gaza believed in a Muslim paradise, which is...
So those children of Gaza, she's not talking in this context about the people like the Hamas guys who were children once and got brought up to become the kind of the terrorists that could do like October the 7th. She's actually talking about the children because she just said it. Those children.
Smoke and flames and blood and become martyrs for Islam. The parents of those children in Texas believed in a life in the hereafter that involved a transcendent closeness to a God who is their father and who loves them, and in fact who embodies pure self-sacrificing love. The parents of those children of Gaza believed in a Muslim paradise, which is the fantasy of any slave who has faithfully carried out his master's dirty work and who will be rewarded with harems of slaves of their own. And
yeah, like the pretty much like every 5-year-old that's like buried in rubble with broken arms or whatever. Yeah, like they believe in they're martyrs and they believe in harems of 72 virgins and stuff. And no, the kids, man, the fucking just the kids.
endless wealth with which to indulge an eternity of debauchery. The parents of those children in Texas sent them to a camp that was intended to teach them to live morally and compassionately. The parents of those children in Gaza sent them to training camps intended to turn them into pitiless death machines.
Like, okay, like we all know that terrorists love monkey bars, right? Is she talking about like maybe the children's parks that in Gaza? I'm guessing they've got parks for kids with monkey bars. Are those monkey bars that the little kids are going back and forth on? Like, are they training to be jihadists or something? Like, that's sort of the level that I'm getting from this, man.
Dirty work, and who will be rewarded with harems of slaves of their own, and endless wealth with which to indulge an eternity of debauchery. The parents of those children in Texas sent them to a camp that was intended to teach them to live morally and compassionately. The parents of those children in Gaza sent them to training camps intended to turn them into pitiless death machines programmed to tolerate such depths of sadism that when they grew up, most of the gruesome details of the October 7th depravities...
Okay, yeah, so here she's talking about the kids that ended up becoming those terrorists. She's right there. I guess like they weren't brought up right. Okay, like, but it seems like when she's responding to a comparison between a wrong comparison, by the way, between innocent victims of a flood and what I see as innocent victims of a war, which is children. Now it's just sort of the whole time has she been talking about the kids that grew up to do October 7th, or is she talking about the kids that clearly Errol the Troll was referring to, which is the collateral damage of the war in Gaza, which is some children? Like, this is a fact of war that civilians die, civilians get displaced. Some of those civilians are children, right? And I think I don't know. I think she would agree that like the children are innocent, but it's not coming across to me clearly that that's what she's saying.
Are still hidden from us for our own mental protection. It's an irony that both the Texas cataclysm and the Gaza ruin involve the word flood, isn't it? The first was an example of an uncontrollable force of nature, which in all its tragedy, enormous numbers of saints who risked and even sacrificed their lives to save.
And that's what's great. Like honestly, like whenever it's like a really bad situation, people just actually come together, or even just on their own, just do heroic shit to help others. It's shown again and again, all the time around the world, in every country, I think, in every culture. Like there's heroes all amongst us. You know what I mean?
Survivors and to find the remains of the victims so they could at least be returned to their families. Hamas called their demonic campaign the Al-Aqsa Flood.
But this is like another kind of false comparison. So, like, she's doing the same fanatical shit, or whatever, that like Errol was doing. Like, she's now comparing civilian, or like even first responder to sort of heroicism to help their fellow man, and now she's comparing it to like what fucking armed not insurrectors, are they? What do you call them? Militia, like armed militia, terrorist, fucking government, whatever these Hamas is, right? This is like a complete false equivalency. Like, the two things don't compare. Like, you could say, okay, you could compare the heroicism of some civilians pulling kids out of the rubble. That'd be like a sort of fair comparison, but like she's not comparing two totally different things. Like it's the ultimate polarized video I've ever seen in my life.
Operation. It was named after a fictional mosque and called into being by an evil which can be described only as demonic, and which was greeted not with self-sacrifice and sorrow by the Gaza population, but by an ecstasy of bloodlust. In other words, although I don't want to give the impression I'm ignoring the devastation of all the personal tragedies, and I know that.
And like when I recorded this last time, I'm thinking just gonna say I'm not ignoring the personal tragedy of like innocent civilians like in Gaza who might have just had a shop. Some guy's got a shop. He's got a couple of kids, got his wife, and bad shit's happened. Like he's had to like move away from his land, or and then his house has got destroyed, and he's lost his livelihood, or one of them got injured unintentionally because of all collateral damage. Like even in a perfect fucking strike, maybe one of his family got hurt. Maybe one of his family died. I'm thinking she's going to say, I'm not ignoring the personal tragedy of these innocent people. No. No, she's not going to go with that. And that's what's fucking crazy about this video.
Mosque and called into being by an evil which can be described only as demonic, and which was greeted not with self-sacrifice and sorrow by the Gaza population, but by an ecstasy of bloodlust. In other words, although I don't want to give the impression I'm ignoring the devastation of all the personal tragedies, and I know that the Texas event will leave a trail of broken families and broken lives.
Just like living in a fucking war zone, right?
And a darkness from which some will be completely unable to extricate themselves. In the end, though, the heroism shown by individuals in that catastrophe.
And yet there was loads of heroism, but what's that really got? That's got nothing to do with Gaza. Like this Errol guy is the king of trolls, man. Like he's sucked it into basically making exactly the same mistake he made only she's like expanded it out to like a 8-minute video where like she's comparing the wrong things and she's revealing, in my opinion, her fanaticism in her outlook, you know? And all respect to Granniopteryx, I don't know if I said it in this video, I said it in the one that the audio didn't work. Like, respect to her. Like, she's an older lady, I respect my elders. I'm sure she's more educated than me, but that's by the by. Like, but she's a granny, so that means like she's had like kids, she's got grandkids. She's obviously, and I respect that. But this video just needs, I need to respond to it. I need to call out this insanity. And I think this video's kind of, this Errol the troll guy is kind of torpedoed her channel. I think because this video is just gonna, it's a polarized video and it's gonna polarize her audience. I've watched her videos a lot and I've liked them, but now I'm doubting myself, okay? Because like I've watched her videos, I'm like, oh, she's saying like exactly what I'm thinking. She's just like eloquently putting what I'm thinking, you know? And now with this video, I'm like, hang on, she's like so off the mark here. Was she off the mark on those other videos that I was agreeing with? Therefore, am I off the mark? Am I the one? I'm not saying she's crazy. Well, I thought I am, but am I the crazy one? Is it me that's crazy because I've been agreeing with her all this time? Has she been just as crazy in those other videos, but I've just not noticed because my head is that fucked up? As fucked up as her head is in this video. I'm totally doubting myself, like, I'm not exaggerating. This video's just fucking wrecked my head completely, man.
Will demonstrate the infinite capacity for godly, self-sacrificing love that humans can show to their fellow humans at times of prodigious trial. And I have no doubt that ultimately a sort of peace will emerge from this awful event. Directly counter to that, the behavior of those armed...
Directly counter? You mean let's go completely polarized the other way and let's like talk about, well, armed militias and shit?
Capacity for godly, self-sacrificing love that humans can show to their fellow humans at times of prodigious trial. And I have no doubt that ultimately a sort of peace will emerge from this awful event. Directly counter to that, the behavior of those armed savages from Gaza showed the infinite capacity for demonic evil and towering cowardice of which humans are capable. And it also showed...
But which doesn't have anything to do with the premise of the troll comment, which was, you care about these kids, you don't care about those kids. Which is a completely stupid comparison, but that's what this whole thing's a response to, isn't it?
Shows how the father of lies, to coin a Muslim phrase, will desert those from whom he has bought their souls and leave them alone and abandoned in a wilderness of annihilation. So, Errol, that's the difference. Now, naff off and bother someone else about Gaza because you have no platform on my channel.
Okay, so I want people to realize this is not me making a video about Gaza. I don't really go into like geopolitics on this channel, okay? This is me responding to someone I've watched for a long, like not a while, okay, not like a long time. I've been watching her videos for quite a while, and then I'm responding to this video which has come out of the left field or whatever, and it's just insane. I'm responding to what I see as the sort of insanity in this video, the next level polarized response to a troll. And this troll he's like the best troll. Errol, I'm not Errol by the way. Errol is probably the greatest troll in the history of YouTube if he's managed to make someone like this. I'm not saying nuke our own channel. That's no. Make a video this insane. Like, it's the ultimate. You say don't feed the trolls. This troll has won the lottery here, and I don't know if she sees it. I see it. Like, Errol will be just loving watching this, and yeah, like don't take my word for it. It's just like I interrupted her a lot here. Go watch her video. I'll put a link to it in the description, and check out some of her other videos. That they're not all like this, right? A lot of them, like I said, like I liked. Now I'm doubting myself on that though.
Anymore. And to all of you listening to that, my apologies. Till next time. You can help my channel by subscribing.
Yeah, like, I'll put links in the description and shit. Like, I don't think she's ever gonna watch this video, but I do hope if she does that, like, I don't know. Maybe I'm being too nice and too respectful. Like, I don't mean to like disrespect her, but this was a crazy video, man. Absolutely, the craziest video I've seen in a long time.